So we're here to talk about gaming as an industry, and they've of course had a very fascinating presentation which really throws open your mind to just what the future and potential of gaming could be in the next decade, as we're calling it. Rameesh, if I could start off with you, because in many countries, when it comes to gaming, it's gone past the, tipping point of adoption by the mainstream media, as we call it, right? I mean, interactive entertainment is displacing books, music, movie, TV, all that we've consumed media to be. And gaming, in that sense, has been the start of it all, right? That was the first to go digital. What do you think lies ahead in the future, here at a time when we're talking 6G already?
Well, great question. I would say that if you look at the evolution of gaming that we have all gone through, I mean, you have come from those big elephant-sized hardware consoles to such miniaturized now mobiles. I mean, mobile is now breaking all the records, penetrating well across the gaming ecosystem. Also because it has democratized access to anybody and everybody thanks to internet connectivity, and as you rightly pointed out, with more and more bandwidth and broadband coming in, whether it's 5G, 4G, 5G or even 6G, the content penetration has now become more seamless and easier. And adding on to that is the fact that we are now seeing usage across right up to the hinterlands. So you will see more and more technology evolving where people will be going beyond the mobile someday when everything becomes virtual and you're able to play things not just on the touch of the screen, but just adding some gadgets and playing around. You will see more and more evolution happening on that front with AR, VR and all of that stuff coming in.
Amit, does it have to be sports? Or is the potential of gaming beyond what we have imagined in our realms at the current day and age?
So yes. You're asking the wrong person.
Well, gaming, of course, is a sport in itself, in any case.
We are all about sports, so you're asking the wrong guy. But it doesn't have to be limited to sports, right? There are a lot of people in a lot of different sectors. They're trying to actually, gaming is getting traction, right? If you look at a lot of things on top of esports now, which is not like pure traditional sports, for example, there's a lot of traction there also. But however, I would definitely talk about everything around sports because we have, like as they've just said before us, right? We're trying to create an ecosystem, right? So for us, the last 10 odd years have been spent in building one of the world's leadest fantasy sports platform, right? So now we are saying that, okay, how does Dream Sports now contribute as you go from now, this innovation that's happening in online gaming and the sports tech sector, how does Dream Sports contribute to that? And that's all these, the So Strongs of the world, there are everything else that revolves around it, right? Everything powered by deep technology, right? So we've developed a lot of expertise over the last few years in building like large-scale distributed scalable systems. Just to throw some numbers out there, right? So last IPL, which is our peak time of the year, we had around almost 7 million users concurrently on our platform. And on Friday, when IPL starts this year, our largest contest will have more than 13 million entries in a single contest. So, so that's to actually build a technology platform that can actually sustain that kind of scale. You really need to have talent that actually is upskilled, learns how to actually create user experiences that are immersive, that actually users flock to our systems. So yeah, so that's the future for us. So we're using that expertise that we built on Dream 11 and trying to replicate across everything else that we're actually trying to do under the Dream Sports ecosystem.
So that commercial gaming in India, how difficult is it to stretch and penetrate beyond the cricket crazy nation that we are?
See, interesting question. I think the analogy that I can give you is media. When OTT platforms came up in India, everyone said Indian consumer doesn't pay for content, right? Television is, we are hardly paying anything, $1 and we get 800 channels. And we proved that wrong over time. Yeah. So started with Disney, Hotstar, Amazon, Netflix, at those price points have proven it wrong. I think the same is true for gaming. The commercialization of gaming, and you saw some of the figures that people before this have talked about,
yeah.
The primary source of revenue in gaming is coming through in-app purchases. And that's the business model shift in gaming that has happened. From buying, $60 on the console, you play for free, and then you keep buying through the course of the game in microtransactions. That is what has changed. So the Indian gamer, much to the belief that we don't pay, the Indian gamer pays. They just have to see the value in it. And that's what is going beyond that. And that is just casual gaming. I mean, if you see what Dream 11 has put together, that has taken gaming as an industry to the next level, to the next stratosphere. And it's happening because the consumer is paying. It's not that the consumer is not paying.
Right. But, you prompted me to my next question, because while the cost of gaming, to my mind, is increasing, for the user, it's only becoming cheaper by the day, as is data. We had a session with Bharti Enterprises earlier in the day. We're one of the cheapest countries in the world as to the per minute cost of data or, telecom that we're paying. How does a company like Nazara or NODWIN become profitable in that scenario then? Or is it just about increasing the volumes right now and deeper penetration? How do you create a moat around your business?
Well, it's a very interesting question. It's a very deep question. Like, I could take, this entire session answering that.
No, don't.
But I think, in short, the answer really is that as you see value coming out of the ecosystem, right? Now, for example, NODWIN, we don't make money because of from the end consumer. We are a B2B company. We make money much like IPL makes money, brand sponsorships and media rights. However, the money that we are making is coming on the back of distribution disruption. It happened in sports, it's happening in esports. The mainstream media, like you alluded at the start of your session, is now putting esports out there for its fans. So which was in the digital realm is coming now in mainstream media. That's how we are making money. As far as the gaming companies, so the best analogy is when PUBG Mobile got banned in India, billions of dollars got shaved off the market cap of Tencent. Yeah. To give you numbers, India, the PUBG Mobile base was 25%. 1 in 4 global downloads were sitting in India. Guess what the revenue contribution of Indians were to PUBG Mobile? 0.6%. It's the promise of the future that they'll pay. As they see more and more value, we start paying. And I think that's how the sustainability happens.
Right. But Ramesh, many of us don't think like that, but esports is different than gaming, right? Gaming is the mother umbrella, if I can call it that. But when it comes to Indian businesses, is esports the way to go? Because rest of it is pretty much covered by global players?
Well, I would say that you have opportunity wide open. I mean, I wouldn't say that Indians should restrict from esports. I mean, esports is another area where Indians should get into. But I think it's important for the ecosystem and people to understand that there are various kind of pillars within the larger gaming ecosystem, and esports is one amongst them. You, of course, have fantasy, which Dream 11 has been pushing a lot. And then you've got the casual game layer, which also has multiple layers to it. For example, in the casual games, you have those games which are mobbed from real-world games which are recognized by federations in terms of rules. You've got games which are not federation recognized. You've got games which are there only in the virtual world. You can't play them in real world. And then, of course, you've got games like Rummy, Poker, and so on. So it's a pretty huge and large variety of games that exist within these broad categories. And I would say that India should be actually looking at the entire spectrum and not restrict to one. And each of them have grown in their own phenomenal manner. You've got so many companies and startups which have come in the casual gaming space. You've got plenty of them coming in the fantasy space and so on. And if you, to your point, we are currently consuming those e-sport games which have been built by overseas players, but it's a matter of time we will have Indian companies coming with large sports which are accepted globally. So, in fact, if you look at the AVGC and the initiatives which the government is pushing, it has to trigger, I mean, we are, I keep telling this, we in the startup ecosystem, we are a producing economy and a consuming one. And therefore, you have a large consumer base available here to validate and actually absorb this if they are built with better quality and so on, which we are capable of. So my take would be that India should look at all the streams, India should work towards all of it and enable that ecosystem that will create livelihoods and a $1 trillion economy that is being expected from this space. So if you look at livelihoods, again, it was already mentioned, but you have plenty of careers now developing about this new age economy that includes even coaches who are training people on how to play games. And part of it is in the gig economy. And then you've got people who are actually, I mean, journalists covering it are building a career of their own. Lawyers who are covering it are creating the legal ecosystem on their own. You've got coders, you've got developers, and more importantly, you've got the gig part, which is giving the surround support for it. So phenomenal, I would say, emergence of livelihoods that can come from this, plus quality content can take us to the next level.
But along with that also come policy hurdles, right? We've seen that play out in China in the last 3 years. Is that a hindrance at all, or do you think in India it's too much of a nascent stage where it's at currently?
Well, I would say that India has evolved in a mature stage in many of the gaming ecosystem. There are some which are still evolving, and the government of India is now working, as we heard the Honorable Minister for State for IT mention about it, that there will be a gaming regulation that is coming in, which I hope will be statesman-like, and I hope the finance ministry will also absorb that statesman-like approach and not tax the industry, which we are hopeful of in a positive way, that things will fall in place. But I think one of the things that is critical, and one thing which has moved fast in the last 6 months, is the fact that the government has also recognized the need for regulating legitimate players who are working in this sector, which is quite natural across sectors.
I wanted to talk to you because you're the tech guy, right? Rameesh was just talking about the infrastructure that esports and gaming brings with it. Tell me, what are the hindrances and opportunities that you see? Because, I mean, you've had global experience yourself, right? How do you imply all of that to India? And is India the talent and the consumer market that can absorb it all?
See, what you need to give users will get engaged with you when you give them a great user experience. And at heart of it, what actually you need is a very strong infrastructure that binds everything together, right? So there are 4 layers to it. So one is connectivity. So right, with this huge digital India initiatives, right, there's like connectivity is getting better in tier 2 and tier 3 cities with 5G connectivity, etc. The end devices are getting better. Smartphone penetration is constantly increasing. And there is huge investments in the cloud infrastructure layer, right? The Amazons, the Googles, and the Microsofts of the world, you know, they're creating this cloud networks, especially with, again, a push of data centers that are created in India now that offer very, very low latency to the end users. All of this enables players like Dream 11 and everything else that Dream Sports and other gaming unicorns are doing, right? They allows us game publishers to actually take our games to the end consumers. Right, this reach, the increase in reach that is happening because of this development is like a huge tailwind that I can see that will definitely increase the users that actually start playing the game, start interacting with the ecosystem. So that's a huge opportunity from that perspective. On the other hand, to actually create a great game at this scale for such large volumes in India, the technology choices are same as that you would need that ones that are created abroad, right, in the Silicon Valleys of the world, right? There's no difference, right? So you still need those emerging technologies like machine learning, AI. So for example, every single app right now tries to personalize the user experience. In Dream 11, for example, the contests that you play, your offers or the payment methods that you want to do, all of that is personalized to you. That's using our machine learning algorithms. We want to provide so data security is key to us, right? So we want to make sure that we protect all the users that are there on the gaming platforms. So we invest heavily in machine learning to avoid fraud prevention into our systems. So, you know, these ways we actually use AI and ML technologies in a lot of different ways. One other example would be like, how do we prioritize what to do next? It's very easy. You talked a little bit about how do we make money, right? But as a business, when you're trying to make decisions, if you keep constantly thinking about that North Star and make your decisions, your product doesn't like do that well in general, right? So you need to optimize multiple metrics. Now, how do you find connections between those 2 different metrics that eventually lead to monetization? So we're investing in something called as causal inferencing. So we've actually collaborated with Columbia University in New York to actually understand this deep technology. What it lets you do is it lets you use data and understand the relationship between various metrics that you're actually using. So then you can actually, you know, prioritize your features and things that you want to do on your platform and try to optimize these various other metrics which indirectly lead up to your top line becoming better. So these are all the methodologies that have been used in, as I said, both in Silicon Valley and other parts of the world, and we are doing the same things in India as well. So that's very exciting.
Sidharth, you'd like to add to that? I mean, are Indians willing to pay for each and every price point within a game?
So, you know, the gaming industry has gone through a very interesting evolution, and I'm just talking about India. Sure. So if you look at 7-8 years back when it was really growing, it was console, right? And console essentially meant it's the Jorbags and the golf course roads and the South Delhis that got covered. Then it went to PC, and it got covered a little more of the population. But mobile gaming is what changed the landscape of gaming, right? It democratized gaming. The lingua franca changed from English to Hindi, right? You started, so at one point in time, if you Google PUBG, the top 10 cities that people came from were Aizawl, were Ranchi. Delhi and Bombay were not in the top 10 cities
We don't
all of
have
a sudden.
spaces for PUBG.
So,
At least Bombay doesn't.
right. So I think what's happening is that there are various price points that you will find consumers willing to pay. But like I said, we are value seekers, right? As Indians, we are value seekers. If we believe we are getting value in what we are spending, we'll spend. And a lot of AAA games in India have seen that trend changing where hardly no one spending to, you know, hundreds and thousands of people start spending money and doing those microtransactions. So yeah, there are at every price point there are enough and more consumers, and that keeps increasing by the day, by the month.
I have to ask you as well, you know, Amit, because IPL is on Friday. I want to know, how do you prepare for an event like that?
So the preparation for IPL of a year actually begins when the IPL in the year prior ends, right? That's how forward-looking we are. We start thinking because it's the time of the year where we get maximum users. Everyone is engaged with the platform. You know, our vision at Dream Sports is make sports better. So the idea is like Dream 11 as an app, for example, lets you engage better with the sports that you're watching. So we make sure that every single year we have like a ton of features that we actually all build together. Like for example, this year we're launching a feature called as auto substitutions in your teams, right? Just in case you made a team and you forgot to edit it close to the game and then that player doesn't play, it's a bummer, right? You lose interest in the game completely. So we constantly think of features that the users would like. Every year our scale increases. So as I said, we're expecting 40 to 50% more users this year. So how do we make sure our systems are prepared to actually handle that scale? So every quarter after the last table ends, we keep adding more features, and this entire quarter of Jan, Feb, March is spent in like testing each and every system. You know, I want to tell you that there's a lot of work that goes behind hosting one single game. It seems very easy. It's easier to actually do it on a smaller scale, but for someone like us, there are like hundreds of engineers working on 150 different systems behind the scenes that interact with each other in real time with millisecond latencies, right? So that our end users don't feel any lag and have a great experience. So it's like a festive season for us. We have all systems ready to go. We scale it up for the traffic and the capacity that we're expecting. And yeah, so 31st March is the day we're waiting for it.
Right. Amit, my final question, because our next panelists are already here. Is there a cheat code, or do you have to really understand cricket to win?
You need to be deeply skilled and understanding the game that you're watching, and yes, and then you'll do well.
That's a very politically correct answer, but yeah, we'll see you on Friday. Thanks so much, gentlemen, for taking the time out. Thank you so much.